For today's lesson, we're going to revisit some word problems from Chapter 2. In Chapter 2, we worked with word problems that required multi-steps involving multiplication and division. Today we are going to continue working with word problems that require us to use strategies to solve multi-step problems. Some word problems require us to increase the quotient when it includes the remainder. Let's take a look at this example. A school has 120 fifth graders who are going by bus on a field trip. Each bus holds 35 students. What is the number of buses needed? Let's break this word problem apart by identifying the important details. The first important detail in this word problem is that there are 120 fifth graders. Next, we want to make sure we identify how many students can fit in one bus. Based on the question that they're asking us, we need to divide the number of students to the number of students that can fit in one bus to find out how many buses we will need. We will have 3 complete buses of 35 students with a remainder of 15 students that will need an additional bus for. This remainder needs to be included in the answer to the question. So we have 3 full buses, which will need to include another bus for our 15 remaining fifth graders, which will give us a final answer of 4 buses needed. This is just one example of how you can increase the quotient, your answer, when it includes a remainder. Let's take a look at another example. Julie has 172 stamps. She wants to put them in an album. Each page of the album holds 25 stamps. How many pages of the album will Julie need to stick all her stamps? Let's first identify our first important detail. We know Julie has 172 stamps. We know that Julie wants to put her stamps in an album. We also know that each page of the album holds only 25 stamps, which is just, in other words, one page can hold 25 stamps. Knowing that Julie has 172 stamps to start with, and knowing that there can only fit 25 stamps on a page, we are going to divide 172 by 25 to find out how many pages she will need for her album. When you divide 172 by 25, you get the answer of 6 with a remainder of 22. So we now have the answer of how many pages of the album Julie will need, which is 6, but because we have a remainder, we want to include that in our answer. So to respond to that prompt below, we know that Julie will need 1 more page to stick the remaining 22 stamps in her album. So here we add 1 more to the quotient, which will become 1 plus 6, and that equals a total of 7 pages. So now the number of pages Julie will need is 7. Although some word problems require you to increase the quotient when you have a remainder, other word problems require you to use more than one step to solve. Let's take this one for example. The Fairfield Elementary School library is in the shape of a rectangle. It measures 36 yards by 21 yards. The school's principal, Mr. Jefferson, wants to carpet the library floor. Find the cost of carpeting the library fully if a 1 square yard carpet tile costs only $16. First, we want to find the floor area of the library. And when we do this, we take into consideration the formula of area, which is length times width. We know that the library is in the shape of a rectangle, and that measures 36 yards by, now by is our key word here, 21 yards. So that just means that's 36 times 21. And when we multiply those two numbers, we get the product of 756 yards squared. This would be the first step in figuring out how to solve this problem. So now that we found the area of the library floor, which is 756 square yards, we can begin the second step to solve this problem. For the next part of the word problem, we know that a 1 square yard carpet tile costs $16. We're going to take the square yards that we just found, which was the area of the library, and we're going to multiply that by the cost of that one tile, which is $16, to find our grand total of how much it would cost us to carpet the library of $12,096. To complete the word problem, we want to provide our statement, which will say it will cost $12,096 to carpet the library fully. So here we have a example of how to solve a word problem that requires more than one step to solve. Let's try another example. Here we have Rob. He fills 250-gallon fuel tanks at $3 per gallon at a gas station. How much money does he need to pay for filling 9 such tanks? We want to identify the first important detail in this word problem. This one's working a little differently than usual. So this is one that we have to really analyze. And if we look at the first line, it does say that Rob fills a 250-gallon fuel tank. Now the question, before I even continue reading the rest of the sentence, is asking how much money does he need to pay for filling 9 such tanks? That 250 is only indicating that it's one fuel tank. So I want to multiply 9 and 250 so I can find out how much fuel he's going to have. So when you do that, you're going to get an answer of the amount of fuel we're going to have is 2,250. Now that completed the first step of this problem, so we're going to proceed to the second step because the question is really asking how much money. So this is where that $3 comes in to the word problem. So I'm going to take that 2,250, multiply that by 3 to find the cost of how much he's going to need to pay for filling 9 such tanks. So Rob is going to need to pay $6,750 to fill 9 such tanks. And here is a great example of how to use more than one step to solve a problem. Okay, so now it is your turn. Please follow the instructions on your Schoology page and complete the assessments in solving word problems with multi-steps and increasing the quotient when you have a remainder. Good luck!